Hi everyone, I'm Emma.
I'm Jack.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
our
our
channel.
channel.
I think everyone wants to improve some part of their life. Maybe they want to become healthier, learn a new skill, save money, or develop better habits.
That's true. Most people have goals, but the difficult part is not setting goals. The difficult part is staying consistent.
That's an important difference. Many people are excited when they start something new.
Yes, at the beginning, motivation is usually very high. People feel inspired and believe they can completely change their lives.
But after a few weeks, many people lose that energy.
That happens because motivation changes. Some days we feel excited, and some days we don't.
So relying only on motivation is not enough.
Exactly. If you only take action when you feel motivated, it becomes difficult to make long-term progress.
Then, what is more important than motivation?
I think discipline and habits are more important. A habit allows you to continue even when you don't feel excited.
That makes sense. For example, someone who exercises regularly doesn't always feel like going to the gym.
Right, they go because exercise has become part of their routine.
So the action becomes automatic.
Yes, good habits reduce the amount of thinking and decision-making you need every day.
I think many people underestimate small habits.
They do. People often believe they need to make huge changes, but small actions repeated consistently can create big results.
Can you give an example?
Sure, reading 10 pages every day may not feel impressive, but after 1 year, you can finish many books.
That's true. Small progress adds up.
Exactly. The problem is that people often look for quick results.
They want change immediately.
Yes, they start a new habit and expect to see a completely different life after a few days.
But real change takes time.
Most meaningful changes happen slowly. The results may not be obvious at first, but the effort is building something.
I think this is why many people give up too early.
Yes, they stop before the habit has enough time to become part of their life.
So patience is an important skill.
Definitely. Patience allows you to continue when progress feels invisible.
I think one thing almost everyone struggles with is staying consistent. You know, we all have things we want to change about ourselves.
Yeah, that's so true. I think most people have a list in their minds. Maybe they want to exercise more, eat healthier, learn something new, or just become a better version of themselves.
Right. And what's interesting is that starting something new is usually not the hardest part.
Exactly. Actually, starting is often the easiest part because you feel excited. You have this feeling like, this time will be different. I'm really going to change.
I know that feeling. You make a plan, maybe you buy some new equipment, download an app, and suddenly you feel very motivated.
Yes, and for a few days, everything feels great. You wake up early, you follow your schedule, and you feel proud of yourself.
But then life happens.
Yeah, exactly. After a while, work gets busy, you feel tired, something unexpected happens, and suddenly the habit disappears.
I think that's where many people feel disappointed.
Definitely, they think, why can't I stay disciplined? Or maybe I'm just not the kind of person who can achieve my goals.
That's a pretty negative way to look at it.
Yeah, and honestly, I think a lot of people are too hard on themselves. They see one bad day as a failure instead of just seeing it as a normal part of life.
That's a really good point. Missing one day doesn't mean you have failed.
Right, I think the problem is that people often have an all or nothing mindset.
Can you explain that?
Sure, some people think, if I cannot do something perfectly, there's no point doing it. For example, if they miss one workout, they decide to stop exercising completely.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a lot.
Or someone wants to learn a language. They study every day for a week, then miss 2 days, and suddenly they feel like they ruined everything.
But actually, 2 missed days don't matter that much.
Exactly. What matters is whether you can come back and continue.
I like that idea. It's not about being perfect. It's about returning to the habit.
Yes, that's something I've learned over time. Successful people are not people who never make mistakes. They are people who recover quickly.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
I think so too. Life is unpredictable. You cannot control everything, but you can control how you respond.
I remember when I was younger, I thought successful people had amazing self-control all the time.
Honestly, I used to think the same way. I thought disciplined people were just born that way.
But later, you realize they built those habits.
Exactly, discipline is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes.
That's a great comparison.
Think about exercise. You don't become strong after one workout. You become stronger because you keep showing up.
The same thing applies to personal growth.
Yeah, small actions repeated over time can completely change your life.
I think people sometimes underestimate what they can achieve in 1 year.
That's true. A year sounds like a long time, but it passes quickly. Imagine what you could build if you improved just a little bit every day.
That's a motivating thought.
Yeah, maybe you learn a few new words every day, read a few pages of a book, save a small amount of money, or spend a little more time taking care of yourself.
None of those actions seem huge.
Right, but together they create a different lifestyle.
I think one of the biggest challenges people face today is managing their attention.
That's a really interesting topic because our attention is being pulled in so many different directions every day.
Yeah, when you think about it, we have phones, social media, emails, messages, and endless information everywhere.
Exactly. Sometimes we are not even aware of how often we check our phones. We pick them up for one small thing, and suddenly 30 minutes have passed.
That happens to me too. I might just want to check one message, and then I find myself watching random videos.
Honestly, I think a lot of people experience that. The problem is not that technology is bad. Technology is actually very useful. The problem is that we sometimes lose control of how we use it.
That's a really balanced way to look at it.
Yeah, because blaming technology completely doesn't solve anything. We need to learn how to use it in a healthier way.
So how can people protect their attention?
Well, I think the first step is becoming aware of our habits. Before changing something, we need to understand what we are already doing.
So paying attention to our own behavior.
Exactly. For example, you can notice how often you check your phone or how much time you spend on certain apps.
Sometimes people don't realize how much time they lose.
Right? And when you see the numbers, it can be surprising.
I think many people say they don't have enough time, but sometimes the problem is not a lack of time. It's a lack of focus.
That's a great observation. We all have the same 24 hours, but how we use those hours makes a huge difference.
That's true. Two people can have the same amount of time, but completely different results.
Yes, one person might spend an hour learning something new, while another person might spend that same hour scrolling without thinking.
I don't think people do that because they are lazy.
Me neither. I think many people are simply tired and looking for an easy way to relax.
That's an important point.
Modern life can be stressful. Sometimes people use their phones because they want a break from their responsibilities.
So the solution is not just saying, stop using your phone.
Exactly. We need to find a healthier balance.
Maybe creating certain boundaries can help.
Yes, simple rules can make a big difference. For example, not checking your phone immediately after waking up or putting it away during important tasks.
I like the idea of starting the morning without technology.
Me too. The first 30 minutes of your day can influence your entire mood
Why do you think mornings are so important?
because they set the direction for your day. If you start your morning feeling rushed and distracted, that feeling can continue.
That makes sense.
On the other hand, if you start calmly, maybe by reading, exercising, or planning your day, you feel more in control.
I think routines can create a sense of stability.
Yes, when life feels chaotic, simple routines can help you feel grounded.
That's probably why successful people often have morning habits.
Right, not because everyone needs to wake up at 5 in the morning, but because having a consistent routine helps.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Sometimes people think they need to copy someone else's lifestyle.
Yeah, and that can create unnecessary pressure. A morning routine should fit your own life.
Someone who works late probably has a different schedule from someone who starts work early.
Exactly. The goal is not to create a perfect routine. The goal is to create a routine that helps you.
I think that's true for all habits.
Yes, a habit only works if you can maintain it.
I also think procrastination is something almost everyone deals with.
Definitely. Even people who are very productive sometimes struggle with procrastination.
Why do people procrastinate?
That's a complicated question. Sometimes it's because a task feels too difficult. Sometimes it's because we are afraid of making mistakes.
So procrastination is not always about laziness.
Not at all. Many times it's connected to emotions.
That's interesting.
Think about a big project. If you feel overwhelmed, your brain may try to avoid that uncomfortable feeling.
So avoiding the task becomes a way to avoid stress.
Exactly. The problem is that avoiding it usually creates even more stress later.
That's so true. You feel relaxed for a short time, but the pressure comes back.
Right, that's why starting with a small step is so helpful.
Instead of thinking about the entire project.
Yes, instead of saying, I need to finish this huge task, you can say, I'll just work on it for 10 minutes.
That sounds much easier.
Often, the hardest part is simply getting started.
Once you begin, it becomes easier to continue.
Exactly. Action creates motivation. Many people wait for motivation before starting, but sometimes motivation appears after you take action.
That's a really useful idea. I think another reason people procrastinate is that they want everything to be perfect.
That's a huge one. Perfectionism can actually stop people from making progress.
It's interesting because perfectionism sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, because people think wanting high standards is always positive. But sometimes perfectionism becomes a reason to avoid taking action.
For example, someone wants to start a YouTube channel, but they keep waiting for the perfect camera, perfect editing skills, and the perfect idea.
Exactly. They spend months preparing, but they never actually start.
I think many people are afraid of producing something imperfect.
Yes, they worry about criticism or making mistakes, but the truth is, nobody starts as an expert.
Everyone has to learn through experience.
Right? You improve by doing. You cannot become better at something if you never give yourself the chance to practice.
That reminds me of learning a language.
Definitely. When you learn English, your first conversations will not be perfect. You will make mistakes, but those mistakes help you improve.
So the same principle applies to many areas of life.
Exactly. Progress usually comes from taking imperfect action.
I like that phrase.
Me too. Sometimes we need to stop asking, how can I make this perfect? And start asking, what is the next small step I can take?
That question feels much easier.
Yes, small steps reduce pressure and make difficult things feel possible.
I think people often underestimate small beginnings.
That's true. A lot of successful things started from very simple beginnings.
Can you give an example?
Sure, many successful writers started by writing a few sentences every day. Many successful businesses started with a simple idea. Many healthy people started with a short walk.
So the beginning doesn't have to be impressive.
Exactly. The important thing is creating movement.
I think another important topic is finding direction in life,
That's a big question. Many people feel lost because they don't know exactly what they want.
especially when they compare themselves with others.
Yes, social media can make it seem like everyone else has their life figured out.
But usually we only see the outside.
Right, we see someone's success, but we don't see their struggles, doubts, or failures.
That's something people forget.
Definitely, everyone has challenges. Some people are just better at hiding them.
So how can someone find their own direction?
I think the first step is understanding yourself better.
What does that mean?
It means asking questions like, what activities make me feel energized? What kind of problems do I enjoy solving? What values are important to me?
Those are deeper questions.
Yes, because a meaningful life is not only about achieving goals, it is also about knowing why those goals matter.
I think many people chase goals because society tells them to.
That happens a lot. People sometimes follow a path because they think they should, not because they truly want it.
That can lead to dissatisfaction.
Exactly. Success looks different for everyone.
One person may want a high-paying career. Another person may want more freedom and time with family.
Both choices can be meaningful. The important thing is choosing a life that matches your own values.
I like that idea.
Your life doesn't need to look like someone else's life.
That's probably difficult for many people to accept.
Yes, because humans naturally compare themselves, but constant comparison can take away happiness.
So, what can people do when they start comparing themselves?
I think they can shift their focus back to their own journey.
Instead of asking, why am I behind?
Ask yourself, what can I improve today?
That's a much more positive question.
Exactly. Growth is personal. The person you should compare yourself with is who you were yesterday.
I think that mindset can reduce a lot of stress.
Yes, when you focus on improvement instead of competition, life becomes more peaceful.
I also think relationships play a big role in personal growth.
Definitely. The people around us can influence our mindset, habits, and even our future.
That's true. Spending time with positive people can change the way we think.
Yes, a supportive environment can encourage us to become better.
But does that mean we should only be around successful people?
Not necessarily. I think what matters more is being around people who have positive attitudes and want to grow.
So it's about mindset.
Exactly. Someone doesn't need to be perfect to inspire you. They just need to encourage growth and kindness.
That's a nice way to look at relationships.
Yeah, we all need people who support us, but we also need to become that kind of person for others.
I think one of the biggest things that affects our growth is how we deal with failure.
That's a really important topic because everyone experiences failure, but not everyone knows how to handle it.
Yeah, many people see failure as proof that they are not good enough.
Exactly. They think, I failed, so maybe I'm not capable. But failure is actually a normal part of learning and improving.
I think our attitude toward failure changes everything.
Definitely. Two people can experience the same failure, but they can react completely differently.
One person may give up.
While another person may ask, what can I learn from this experience?
That question can completely change the situation.
Yes, instead of seeing failure as the end, you start seeing it as information.
Information.
Yes, failure gives you feedback. It shows you what needs to change or improve.
That's a different perspective.
Think about learning any skill. When you make mistakes, you discover what you need to practice more.
Like learning to play an instrument.
Exactly. A musician doesn't become better by avoiding wrong notes. They become better by practicing and correcting themselves.
The same applies to life.
Right, every challenge teaches us something.
But I think people naturally want to avoid uncomfortable experiences.
Of course, nobody enjoys feeling disappointed or making mistakes.
So how can we become more comfortable with discomfort?
I think we need to stop seeing discomfort as something negative,
How should we see it?
as a sign that we are growing. Many valuable things happen outside our comfort zone.
That's a popular phrase, but it's true.
Yes, if everything feels easy all the time, we probably aren't challenging ourselves.
For example, starting a new job can feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. Moving to a new place, learning a new language, meeting new people, or trying something unfamiliar can all feel difficult at first.
But those experiences often change us.
Yes, they help us become more adaptable and confident.
I think confidence is not something you just have. It's something you build.
That's a great point. Confidence usually comes from keeping promises to yourself.
What do you mean by that?
For example, if you tell yourself you will exercise 3 times a week and you actually do it, you start trusting yourself more.
So confidence comes from evidence.
Exactly. You build confidence by showing yourself that you can take action.
That's interesting because many people think confident people are just naturally confident.
Yes, but often confidence is the result of experience. People become confident because they have faced challenges before.
So someone who looks confident may have struggled a lot in the past.
Absolutely. We usually see the result, not the journey.
That's a good reminder.
Everyone has moments of doubt. The difference is that some people continue despite those feelings.
I think that's a very important life skill.
Yes, being brave doesn't mean you have no fear. It means you move forward even when you feel afraid.
That's a powerful definition. I also think gratitude is something that can improve people's lives.
Definitely. Gratitude changes the way we see our current situation.
How does it do that?
It helps us focus on what we have instead of only thinking about what we lack.
That's difficult sometimes because people naturally notice problems.
Yes, our brains are often focused on solving problems, so we sometimes forget to appreciate good things,
Even small things.
especially small things. A good conversation, a peaceful morning, a healthy body, or someone who cares about us.
I think people often wait for big achievements before allowing themselves to feel happy.
That happens a lot. They think, I'll be happy when I get a better job, or I'll be happy when I reach a certain goal.
But happiness can exist during the journey.
Exactly. Goals are important, but we shouldn't ignore the present moment.
That's a good balance.
Yes, we can work toward the future while still appreciating today.
I think that mindset can make life less stressful.
Definitely. When you appreciate your progress, you become more motivated to continue.
Another thing I've noticed is that people often underestimate the power of taking care of themselves.
That's true. Self-care is sometimes misunderstood. Some people think it means being lazy or avoiding responsibilities.
But actually, it's about maintaining yourself.
Exactly. You cannot give your best when you are completely exhausted.
So rest is part of productivity.
Yes, rest allows you to recover and continue.
I think many people feel guilty when they take breaks.
That's common. They feel like they always need to be doing something.
But humans are not machines.
Right? We need balance. Working hard is important, but recovering is also important.
I think creating a better life doesn't always require huge changes. Sometimes, it starts with very small decisions we make every day.
That's something I really believe too. People often think they need to completely change their life overnight, but most meaningful changes happen slowly.
Yeah, sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves.
We do. We look at someone successful and think they suddenly became successful, but we don't see all the small choices they made every day.
That's a good point. A person's life is usually the result of many small habits.
Exactly. The way you spend your mornings, the way you use your time, the people you spend time with, and the thoughts you repeat all influence your future.
It's interesting because small choices don't feel important in the moment.
Right, reading 10 pages today doesn't seem like a big achievement. Going for a 20-minute walk doesn't seem life-changing. But when you repeat those actions for months or years, the results become obvious.
So consistency gives small actions power.
Yes, consistency is what turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results.
I think many people are looking for a perfect plan.
That's true. They search for the best productivity system, the best learning method, or the perfect routine.
But sometimes, they spend more time planning than actually doing.
Exactly. Planning is useful, but action is what creates change.
That's a very common problem.
Yeah, some people spend months researching how to start something, but they never take the first step.
Maybe because starting feels uncertain.
Yes, the unknown can feel uncomfortable. People often prefer staying in a familiar situation, even if they are not completely happy.
Because at least it feels safe.
Exactly, but staying comfortable forever can prevent growth.
So sometimes, we need to choose between comfort and growth.
Yes, growth usually requires stepping into situations where we don't know everything.
That can be scary.
It can, but every time you handle something difficult, you become stronger and more confident.
I think about people who move to another country, change careers, or learn a new language.
Those experiences are challenging, but they also transform people.
Because they are forced to adapt.
Exactly. They discover abilities they didn't know they had.
That's a great feeling.
Yes, sometimes we don't know what we are capable of until life gives us a challenge.
I think another important part of building a better life is knowing what really matters to you.
Absolutely. A lot of people chase goals without asking whether those goals actually make them happy.
That's true. Sometimes people follow goals because other people expect them to.
Yes, they follow a certain path because society says it represents success.
But everyone has a different definition of success.
Exactly. For some people, success means financial freedom. For others, it means having time with family, creating something meaningful, or living a peaceful life.
So there is no single answer.
Right, the important thing is creating a life that feels right for you.
I think that requires self-awareness.
Definitely, you need to understand your own values, strengths, and interests.
That sounds simple, but many people don't spend enough time thinking about it.
That's true. People are often busy following schedules and responsibilities that they rarely stop and ask, what kind of life do I really want?
That's a powerful question.
Yes, sometimes slowing down helps us move in the right direction.
I also think learning is something that should continue throughout life.
Definitely. The world changes quickly, and people who continue learning usually adapt better.
Learning doesn't have to mean going back to school.
Exactly. Learning can happen through books, conversations, experiences, courses, or simply being curious.
I think curiosity keeps people young.
I agree. Curious people are always discovering something new.
That's probably why they stay motivated.
Yes, they see life as a journey of exploration instead of a fixed destination.
I like that idea.
Because there is always something new to learn, understand, or experience.
Before we finish, I think it would be good to talk about one final thing: being patient with yourself.
That might be one of the most important lessons.
Why do you think so?
Because many people are fighting invisible battles. They are trying their best, even if others don't see it.
That's true.
Sometimes we expect ourselves to have everything figured out, but life doesn't work that way.
Everyone is learning.
Exactly. Nobody has all the answers. We are all improving step by step.
I think people need to remember that progress is not always obvious.
Yes, some changes happen quietly. You may not notice how much you've grown until you look back.
That's a beautiful thought.
Think about who you were 5 years ago. There are probably things you can do now that your past self could only imagine.
That's true.
And the same thing can happen in the future. The person you become tomorrow depends on the choices you make today.
That's a great way to end.
Life is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming better, learning from experiences, and continuing forward.
So for everyone listening, remember that small steps matter.
Take care of yourself. Stay curious, keep learning, and don't give up on your own journey.
Thank you for spending this time with us.
We hope this conversation gave you some inspiration and reminded you that personal growth takes time,
Keep improving a little every day.
because small changes can create a completely different future.
See you in the next episode.
Take care and have a wonderful day.